Like the hair thing. The hair is always a big thing. Yeah. I know I have quite a few friends who they have their hair a certain way, and oh, can I feel your hair?
Can I touch your hair? Oh my god! Yeah. So me, I've had a half-fro before. To those of you not familiar with half-fro, is a half of an afro. Because it's when you're impatient, you don't grow the whole fucking thing out, just halfway. So another one I've had the fade, obviously, with the very deep motherfucking waves, like genetic deep motherfuckers. Like them shits rocking, waving. Noah actually caught me up. It was like, yo, slow down the tide. Only got one ship, and but yeah. So and they would always ask to touch my hair when it was like that, and actually I didn't mind obliging them because I wanted to show them that we're not like wild pit bulls. But other people would say, no, we're not animals. You don't just pet us. But I'm like, yo. There's plenty of like white hoes that I didn't pet it, so who the fuck am I to tell them, like they really, really, they admire us, and I want them to say, oh wow, they are so fucking cool. That hair is not weave. I saw a guy with deep motherfucking waves, and he let me touch him. Them shits was so real. And then I also had dreads, right? And when I had those, of course, everybody wanted to touch those, and I guess I'm so cool I just didn't mind, like as long as it wasn't a dirty motherfucker or a guy. Those are like the two things, yeah. So basically no dirty bitches, no guys. Everything else is kind of fair game. Even big girls can touch, the hair. Because it's just hair. But that's my, approach to it. Omar may not feel like that.
I've always kind of had my hair the same way. Sometimes it grows out. I got more like a Jew-fro thing going on. But like...
Not to be derogatory towards Jews or fros.
Hey man, we can both rock it. I got you. You got me. You know what it is. Anyway, other things that this film definitely touched on was the discussion of affirmative action.
Oh yeah, they did that.
Always kind of comes up, and it always feels really awkward.
Yeah, because it kind of is, because it's real. Yeah, it is definitely something that persists in our reality, and people will blame any and fucking everything on gun control or affirmative action. It's like only reason we like Obama is America and that damn affirmative action, and it's like.
Yeah. It's one of those things that always kind of comes up, and it's kind of in the back of people's mind whether they're for it or against it. Mm-hmm. And when you're applying for colleges, whether you're white or black, you think about affirmative action. It's there.
Affirmative, yeah.
Even Hispanic and all that stuff. A lot of times you think about affirmative action. It's a thing. Will it end? When will it end?
And it actually is like a double-sided, blade there, because let's say you go to an HBCU, right? Mm-hmm. If you are a Caucasian and you go to an HBCU, you now qualify for all the minority scholarships because you're a minority at that particular campus and demographic.
Right.
That's affirmative action.
Except
but they
for
don't want to think of it that way.
Straight from the NAACP and stuff like that.
Right. And then another, weird loophole is if you are from the continent of Africa, and you are Caucasian, and you come to America, you are now African American, or South African American, or Kenya American. But and all of a sudden you got a white guy who's getting all these scholarships, and it's like, what the F? It's affirmative action, right? It's like.
Yeah, that's another thing they touch on in the movie.
And that they do right, yeah.
Like African American has kind of become the bad word because people are becoming too
affirmative action.
Yeah, people are becoming too proper. What is it? What's the
politically
word? Politically correct.
Trying to be
politically correct when it just makes you seem like a racist. If you're politically correct, instead of saying black, you say African American. Now you're trying too hard. You're obviously a racist, and it brings up a lot of interesting points and stuff that we should think about. Honestly, stuff that should be thought about, and I don't feel like has been touched on in a lot of movies before. Stuff like that doesn't get so blatantly put out there. Like, we talk about certain things, but we put it in a context of a narrative, and it becomes kind of the struggle of a character going through different things that aren't explicitly stated. Where they explicitly state it, which is great.
Speaking of explicit, something else that was explicitly stated was that we have these two lead characters, both of them African American, one male, one female, and they're both each running for candidacy to be the head of house, right? And the black male sleeping with a white girl who happens to be of some status or wealth throughout the school, and the black female who is pretty much leading this revolt of the whole hipster underground culture of black identity on this campus. Her name's Sam in the film. She is dating a white guy, and
dating, quote unquote dating,
right? Dating about as much as people on online dating.
People as about as
21st
much as people
century
on
word
Tinder.
of dating. All right,
yeah,
that is what they're doing. And it's like, oh, I thought you were, super this and you're super that. But they make these exceptions for themselves that kind of go beyond the rules. And it's like, well, is that hypocritical? And it's like, time out. When has getting pussy ever been hypocritical? I'm pretty sure it's all about HIPAA getting them panties off. Like, and the same thing for, vice versa, right? It's like, hey, I just like what I like. This has nothing to do with my political correctness, right? I just like thick girls, or I just like skinny girls. I just like light girls. I just like white girls. I just like girls. Some motherfuckers can't decide, and they just do whatever comes their way. That's a whole nother film.
Yeah, that again goes along with the beginning of the well, I guess it wasn't the beginning, but the other part of our conversation that was talking about basically how everybody was out for themselves. And if you're out for yourself and you're trying to present a certain kind of aura to other people, how can you really be yourself? And that's Sam was always trying to, in the movie, present herself as a type. She was the person who did this, and she even says, "I don't want to be this anymore." I don't want to give anything away, but
spoiler alert.
At the end, you really don't know what she was after.
Right, and again, it's college, so they're very young. They're supposed to be taking a shit ton of credits, which obviously they're not. So your mind is supposed to be so preoccupied with this that it's difficult to focus on these very narrow events, right, in the middle of midterms or the stress of writing papers.
Yeah.
Remind me again, what was the character's name? The Afro?
Lionel.
Thank you. Lionel. So he goes through a pretty bad shitstorm in the film.
Yeah.
And I can't really relate to everything that happened to him because he was portraying a homosexual character, somewhat, I wouldn't say closeted, but very shy personality. And he was a writer of the local campus paper, which nobody read, said the dean, who felt like he was also racially oppressed.
Yeah, very, very much so.
And also turns out to be the
guy,
father.
The guy from what was it, State Farm commercials?
Allstate. Is your bitch in good hands?
Oh, God. Is my job in good hands?
You a fake Denzel like the Allstate.
Yeah. So,
so all that's going on. Yeah. And, but I thought that they did a good job of giving him some depth, because he was trying to struggle with his own sexuality on top of his living arrangements, because he was getting bounced back and forth between all the crossfires of who's allowed to be at which hall for lunch and all this other stuff. And so his was kind of an interesting side story to follow, and because he was the writer on campus and a lot of people were trying to get his attention or publish his piece and change it, and I kind of thought that was pretty cool. But altogether, I mean, all their stories were just like, I was kind of expecting Tales from the Crypt, those kind of stories. And I felt like I was giving Care Bears.
You feel for Lionel, and he's got a better arc, I believe, than a lot of other people.
Yeah.
But it's the same thing, kind of. For me, I feel it's the same thing that it's like, you really only care about yourself. Like, you're only trying, even though you want to meet other people and you want to be involved and you want to have some kind of purpose, he was still only ever fighting for himself. He never really gave a shit about anybody. Even the guy who he was interested in,
so you might be right about that. I don't think he really cared about any of them, but I do disagree that he didn't care about anyone, because his roommate, who was the old head of house, remember, he had to share his room, and he ended up having a room with him, and they had, the little divider room, and one point they left their doors open, and he kind of gives them this look because he's watching something on TV, and it sounds like something very like melodramatic, and you could tell this the former head of house, what's that character's name?
Troy.
Thank you. Troy is getting very emotional, and Lionel looks over at him, and they kind of have this brief moment where they're like trying to assess each other, and Troy put his guards up, right, changed the channel, and just mans it out. And then another time when I think Troy is smoking out somewhere on campus, and
at an event.
And Lionel kind of comes up to him to try to talk about something, and he just blows him off, and Troy's like, no, I don't want to talk about what happens at home. But you could tell Lionel, at least, like, of all the people there, I felt like he made the most honest effort to try to do something, and I felt like he was probably the youngest person there.
Yeah.
Is the feeling I got of it, and he was just getting dicked around. No, pause. No. But just the worst of it. And, it sucks sometimes when you're the nice guy in all the movies, you're supposed to get all the bitches, all the money, first name on the credits. Nice guys supposed to get everything.
Well,
right?
he got to finish out the movie.
Good point. He didn't die.
Hold up, real quick. Nobody dies in this movie.
Spoiler alert.
Not too big a spoiler, but nobody dies in this movie. So you're okay.
But he was the classical proverbial good guy, and I guess he was kind of average. So in reality, I guess that is kind of true. You need to just make sure you're a fucking Banff. Fuck that nice guy shit. Save that for politicking. But make sure you go hard in the motherfucking paint, because they treated him like shit. You don't want to be that guy.
Yeah. We're coming back for the second half. Stay tuned.